What are you seeing with regards to investor interest? Is it back, or is this just the same buyers coming maybe back in a bigger way?
That's a fascinating question, Brian, and it gets to the very fundamentals of what do we even mean by on-chain activity. But before I go on, I do want to caveat that everything I say are my opinions and not those of my employers. And I should also point out that investors never really went away. What on-chain activity allows us to do, Brian, and this is something that few people outside of crypto fully grasp, it allows us to gauge sentiment by the actual movement of the assets. Because of the transparent nature of blockchains, we can tell, without knowing names, of course, which addresses bought what, how much, when, at what price, are they in profit, what have they been doing recently? And these data points that I keep an eye on have been telling me that holding activity has been notably more pronounced over the past few weeks than it was in June and July, for example.
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a run back. I mean, but basically back to where we were. Bitcoin's still off its highs, but Ether, it was like 3,300, almost to 4, collapsed and has come back. I guess we know what's happened. Some people, unfortunately, probably sold, as the market fell. Now they got the FOMO, fear of missing out on the return rally. What are we looking at ahead? What's going to be the driver of crypto going forward? Are we kind of just waiting to the fall? Is it the Fed? Is it more companies getting in? What?
It's a mixture of everything, Brian, and I know that's an easy answer, but actually is the case. I mean, the on-chain data has been bullish for quite a while, but that's not enough. What you need to see is an actual change in the sentiment. We are seeing that not just from the huge amount of money that's flowing into the industry, from new funds that have been announced, from institutions such as Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, and others, but also from some of the whopping funding rounds that we've seen just so far this month for market infrastructure companies, crypto market infrastructure companies. And then layer on that market sentiment, which affects all markets, as you know. And yes, crypto eyes, the watchers are keeping an eye on what's going to happen at the end of this week at Jackson Hole. Will Federal Reserve Chairman Powell decide to announce tapering now, or will he wait for a bit? And I think it's very telling, Brian, that for the second year in a row, this will be a virtual event. We didn't expect that. We thought that by now we would be back at in-person events. So it's a very stark reminder as to the COVID-shaped problems that the economy is still going through. So sentiment matters a lot. The fundamentals have been there for quite some time. Yeah. But one fundamental change in the market, Brian, since last year is the role of Bitcoin. Bitcoin now accounts for less than half of total crypto market capitalization. You mentioned Ether, that on many metrics has outperformed Bitcoin so far this year. And there are many other smaller assets that have had astonishing performances for somewhat different reasons than Bitcoin. They're seen less as macro assets and more as technology plays. And the technology is progressing at a fascinating pace.
How's the trader interest? How are the volumes? Do we know?
Volumes are not extraordinary, but they're up from where they have been during the depths of the bull market. What we are seeing in the market is less leverage than last time we were in an upswing. That's because of some structural changes in the market. We've seen regulators pressure some of the exchanges to lower the leverage as possible, as well as a general change in sentiment. We are detecting some more caution this time around, which is a good sign.